In this video, I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use a Texas Instruments TI-83, 84, something along those lines, graphing calculator. To do so, I'm going to start by having us graph this equation. Y equals 1/2 times x plus 4 times x plus 2 times x minus 1. So I'm going to go to my y equals. I'm going to type in 1/2, which I can do with 0.5. Times, for my x button, I'm going to use this one next to alpha, plus 4 times x plus 2 times x minus 1. First thing I'm going to do once that's in my y equals is I'm going to press graph. Yours probably doesn't quite look like this, so if your window is ever messed up, you can press zoom. You'll notice that number 6 is Z standard, which would be zoom standard. So if I press number 6, that's going to bring me back to a regular looking graph. So this graph button is going to show you what the graph looks like. If you want to change what you see, you can press window. So maybe I want to make this a little bit smaller. If I want my x's only to go down to -5, I can change my x minimum. Maybe I want my x's to go up to, say, 15. And maybe I only want tick marks every, say, 3. So my x scale will be 3, and they'll put a tick mark every 3. For my y minimum, that's going to tell me how low I go. Maybe I want to go from, say, -20 to +20. And I want a tick mark every 5. Then I can change my y scale. If I hit graph again, then we see what it looks like in that window. And again, if you ever want to go back to normal, you can press zoom. And then number 6 is zoom standard. That'll bring you back to your standard window. Something else you can do is trace. You'll notice the trace button. If I click that, then it's going to put a point on my graph. I can move left and right, and that's going to tell me a bunch of different points on my graph. And that little dot is just going to follow on the graph, so all of these points are on the graph. Something that can be a little bit more useful is the calculate menu. To get there, you're going to press second trace, and here you're going to find a lot of different information. So first, let's start with value. So if I choose this first one, value, then what it's going to do is it's going to ask for an x value, let's say -3. What it's going to do is it's going to tell me when x equals -3, what my y value is, and it puts a little spot where that is on the graph. So if I want to know what is y when x equals, say, +2, I can go second, calculate, value at x equals 2, and then y equals 12. Next up, we can look for zeros. If I go into my calculate menu, the second choice is 0. So that's going to help me find my x-intercepts. To do so, it's going to ask for a left bound. So what that needs is a number to the left of your x-intercept. So if I go for the far left one, that looks like it's at -1, -2, -3, -4-ish. So -5 is going to be to the left of it. It's going to ask for a right bound. It looks like -3 is to the right of it. And then it wants me to guess. I can either move with the arrows to put it close to where it is, or I can type an x value. I know it's close to -4, so I'll type in -4, hit enter. And it tells me that my 0 is at -4, 0. I can do it again. Let's go for the positive x-intercept. So I can go calculate the 0. It looks like it's between 0 and 2. Since there aren't any other x-intercepts in that area, I can just press enter for my guess, and it'll look near x equals 2. And you'll see that the 0 is at 1, 0. Next on my calculate menu is the minimum. So if I choose number 3, it's again going to ask for a left bound and a right bound. Since I'm looking for the minimum, I'm going for this kind of lowest point here. So a left bound, I'll pick -1. For a right bound, I'll pick +1. I'll guess it's near 0. It looks like it's not at nice numbers, but it still found it for me. So my minimum is at -0.2137025 with a y value of -4.10441. We can also calculate the maximum, and you'll notice that this is finding local maximum and a local minimum. That's why it's asking for bounds. It looks like a left bound could be -4, a right bound could be -2, and I think it's near -3. And it's at -3.119634, and it gives me the y value as well. One more thing that may come of use to you is if you have two equations in here, maybe we also have y equals 2x minus 3. There's this intersect is number 5. So let me take a look at my graph again. We're intersecting somewhere in here. I can't really see what's going on, so I'm going to change my window. I'm going to let my x's go from -2 to +2, and I'm going to let my y's go from, say, -6 to +2, and that should hopefully help me see this a little bit better. Yeah, that's a lot better. So if I go calculate, intersect, then on the first curve, I want to get close to one of the intersection points on the left-hand side, so that's pretty close. On the second curve, I go a little bit to the right-hand side, and I'm going to guess that the intersection occurs near there, and that will tell me where these intersect. Another thing that's really useful is the table option, so that'd be second graph. Right now I have two different equations in. I have my y equals 1/2 times stuff, and then I have my linear equation. So it tells me when x is each of these values, what's my y value for each of the equations. Normally we're only going to have one in here, so I'm going to make the other one go away. So here is a list of ordered pairs on my graph. Right now, you'll notice that my x's are going by 1/2. You can change that by going second window, and that's going to be your table setup. You can choose where your table starts, so when you press table, where is it going to show you? Usually 0 is a good choice. And let's make our delta table be 1. So that's going to say each time you scroll up or down, you're going to change your x value by 1. If I go back to my table now, then it goes up by 1s, and it started at 0. So here are a few useful tools for graphing and just kind of using your calculator.